Listening to us tonight. I'm Keith Kimball. I'm running for Board of Education in New London. Me postulo para la Junta de Education in New London. My Spanish is como niño pequeño, pero mi esposa, toda la familia cubana, so I have that going for me. But anyway, I agree with Chris. We can win, even as a third party. I look at Myrna, I look at Rana. I don't look at Rana. Both had successful campaigns. So don't feel like a vote for us is not viable, because it is, especially in this place. But a little about me, for those of you who don't know me. I've lived in New London for about 30 years. I came here in my senior year of high school and graduated from New London High School. Public education's always been a huge family value in my family, and something that's always been very important to me. My mother was a career public school teacher, special education, for 30 years. And my dad was a professional pilot who spent a good deal of his career instructing and also teaching aviation at the college level. And of course, I had Myrna and Rana to teach me about public education policy and equity. So my time there was very well spent. It was very educational for me personally. And I spent most of my time here working on the back end, helping people get on ballots. And so you haven't seen me, but now I'm running for office, and hopefully you'll see more of me.
Which office?
Board of Education.
Junta.
Junta de Education. But my skill set as a professional, I'm semi-retired staff accountant. I worked for corporations in New London County for about 20 years, Pfizer and Dealer Track among them. And what I do is I create financials, and I do financial analysis. And that allows me to make common sense connections between what's being spent and an organization's goals. And that's what people ask me all day. How much are we spending? How far are we getting? And even just looking at paper copies of the budget, because I don't have anything electronic. I look at half of New London students are Latinx. A quarter of them are ESL, whether Latinx or French or whatever other language. 800 students. We have 3% of our budget dedicated to ESL education. Obviously it doesn't have to be 25%. And I do think that we have a good program, but it needs to be better, right? And I'm talking to people all the time, and I have been since I've been here. And now that I'm out there, I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to district employees, I'm talking to the board, and they're all frustrated. In the district, at the board, and the families, they're all frustrated. There's not enough accountability. There's not enough transparency. I asked Regina Mosley, who's the chair of the Board of Ed right now, I said, what was your biggest frustration concerning funding in the budget in the district in your tenure here? And she said, well, we're not investing enough in our students, which I've already brought up, and we don't get enough cooperation from the city. And I'm like, well, yeah, why not? And so I looked at the committees on the board, and I saw that there's no liaison, there's no Board of Ed representative on the City Finance Council. The Board of Ed has to react to all the conversations and decisions that are being made about the city budget, that affect the district, without having a voice, without having someone who can communicate to that to them in real time. So like at the very beginning of my campaign, that's like my first goal, is we need to have a transparent, real-time connection between the city and the Board of Ed concerning finances, right? Because there's a lot of members on there that want to do better, but they need that cooperation. I talk to a lot of families, and again, this is universal, from board members to families to people who work inside the district. They're not happy with the culture of communication in our schools. When they have a problem, they don't feel like it's being addressed. They don't feel, and when things are being done, they don't feel like they're being communicated to. I sat in with a Step Up New London meeting where people were just expressing their issues, and Regina, Board of Ed chair, was saying, we had a suicide prevention event. I didn't find out about it till 2 days after. Right? It's like, so believe me, like throughout the city, no matter where they are, they're all frustrated with this, and again, there needs to be accountability, there needs to be transparency. These problems need to be visible. And so I'd like to start another committee or board, to assess this. Talk about why don't parents feel like they're being listened to? Why don't they feel respected? Why are people not getting the information that they need? That's the first step. And then, okay, how do we fix it? So, what?
I'm the timekeeper.
You're the timekeeper. So, well, we should go over what your signals mean next time. But yeah, I mean, those are two things like right off the top of my head that I want to do. And, as far as the specific problems, you all got them. You've all talked to people, you could talk to me more about it. You can find out what I mean by equity. You can find out, other things, but I want to hear from you, and I want to represent you. And Greens represent people. We don't take money from anybody but you. So we're listening.
That's right.
Oh, because